Well. Welcome to the podcast, everybody. It's Dad Space. A space for dads, by dads. Happy to have you here. Today we have Jim Love is in the house to share love and to share his perspective. As a guest speaker in schools where he addresses students, he's coming with a message from the students back to the dads. Pretty amazing, right? Jim Love on Dad Space. So Jim's here to talk and share a little bit from his perspective on all the things shared with him from students. And it's great to have Jim on the podcast. He's a great guest. I've talked to him several times now. His website, goauthenticU.com. Jim Love on Dad Space. Here we go. Okay, everyone. So if you've followed any of my podcasts to this point, thank you, by the way, for doing so. But there's this guy who keeps coming back over and over and over again. And you know what? When you meet great people in your life, the chance to talk to them once is great. Twice is awesome. 3 times, it's starting to become a thing. I'm not sure. This gentleman's male is showing up in my house because we meet and talk so often. Jim is here with today, Jim Love. And like we talked about in another podcast before, love is in the air, and Jim is here yet again, but this time on Dad Space to talk about our relationship with our kids. Welcome to the podcast. For a third time, you have now won a prize, which is now behind the door to your left. Thank you so much for being here, Jim.
Oh, fantastic. I love prizes. Yes. Thank you for having me. I sound like I have separation anxiety the way you describe that. I feel like I need to, I sound like a stalker, a borderline stalker, but
you did roll by my house one evening and that was interesting, but
that's true.
Yeah,
that was a weird moment, but it's great to be here. Excited to talk about something I don't typically get to talk about. So I'm looking forward to it. And as always, it's good. Any time spent with Dave Campbell is good time. So that's what I've been told.
Dad Space here. We're all talking about our relationship with our kids, our relationship with men, our dad friends, everything. And we're trying to elevate dads. And Jim, you come with a great background speaking in schools and with students, encouraging them to live authentically. And so what I was hoping for today is to get a little bit of your history with your dad, but as well maybe bridge a gap maybe between dads and their kids, because what I think we talked about in the past was you'll do a presentation in a school, kids will come up to you at the end sometimes and they'll be like, hey, can I talk to you for a sec? And in those moments, as a guest speaker in a school setting, for example, they got to be powerful, they got to be very meaningful and memorable for you, but maybe some of the messages that you're hearing back from kids as it kind of relates to what we're talking about today, maybe we can kind of build that bridge and strengthen that bridge maybe today. And that's kind of what I was hoping for today. So
I think, first of all, it's the students I speak to, right. And a lot of them are leaders or don't know they're leaders and everything. And it really, a lot of it starts at home, and I realized that pretty early on, and it started like that for me too. I have a great relationship. My parents did then, still do now. And, and they've taught me everything. And a lot of what I found, particularly dads, when a dad is around, or a father figure, or someone is around and is a role model, it's really impactful. And that's a fairly consistent thing I see in a lot of students who care about leadership and who really want to go deeper. They have that support at home. And I know that's not always the story. Obviously there's variances and nuances to that, but a lot of times, they really feel supported and feel that they can go after it. And I think oftentimes parents, dads, that dads specifically, they're busy, they're working a lot, they're doing all sorts of things, and they don't realize the impact that they really have on their kids. It's important. And I know, and I've spoken to parents many times too, and it's just I'm just grateful that them showing up like them being there is a gift. Their presence is a gift, and it's important to acknowledge that, because not every kid has that. And I know, and some kids obviously have father figures, whomever it might be in their life that are there, but dads particularly deserve a lot of credit. And I know, I know Father's Day isn't like as big of a holiday as I think it should be in the U.S. And I feel like sometimes dads are not given as much credit as they deserve. And and I've really a lot of students I've met, and I know, especially now that I'm sometimes 15 years older than these students, they sometimes see me as that figure, and that's fantastic. If I can serve in that role, it's great. But I've really seen the difference it makes when a student feels like they're supported at home and is able to like come live that out and be part of, whether it's leading at their school, in their community, whatever it might be. And a dad plays a big role in that. And like I said, my dad's been, a huge part of my life, still is now, always will be. And he's always been a supporter, always encouraged me, and always, like, he doesn't get it sometimes what I do, like, I'm not going to pretend like he knows exactly what I'm doing, but it's unconditional love. And that's always the way, it will be. So I feel empowered by that. And the dads that do provide that, are the best, and the role models that provide that are awesome. So I'm just really passionate about that. And I know, sometimes dads don't feel that love that often, and they deserve it. That's something that they should get. And seeing my friends grow into parents and being dads is fantastic. And just watching how much they really care about their kids and want to be there for them is important. So I'm really kind of honored to see both sides of the spectrum when I speak to, whether it's students or their parents, and just see how much mutual respect and love there is on both sides.
So when you look back over the years growing up in your home, in reference to your dad, was there some moments that kind of stand out for you, maybe that where you were just like, wow, like that's the example of a dad for me. That's something that I will never forget. Or maybe he did something that just wasn't like grandiose or off the charts, but it was like this dad moment where you're just like, that's it. That's my model.
Totally. Yeah, I got two examples. First is he showed up for everything. He was always a coach or fan, playing all these sports that I was not good at, and he was there to support, and there to, whether it's help out, whatever it is, but always there, busy schedule, and always there. And I always just appreciated that, and like conceive, how I want to do that too someday. And then I actually, one big thing is I saw the way he treats my mom. And like that was always a big deal to me, the mutual respect, and how much love he has, and how great of a husband he is. Like, all those things are really important, and something I strive to do. Now, obviously, I don't have kids right now, but when I enter that stage in my life, like I want to show them how I treat my wife, and it's a partnership, and there's mutual respect and love. And he still has that, but that was always something I looked at, because not all my friends had that. I mean, there's plenty of dads who were not as nice or whatever it might be, and I just, both of those things were really important, stuck out to me like completely. And I know obviously they would have like their arguments, but that's a natural part, which I didn't know that at the time, but like now looking back, I'm like, it was really healthy, and I just saw how that should work. And we're my family is a family of faith, and I know that they really care about the church, and really live that way. And it was important, and it still is, but those two things very clearly stuck out to me as like, this is the way it's supposed to be. And it's impactful then and still now, and something that I want to live out. And fortunately have a father and mother-in-law, my wife's parents, who are the exact same way. It's the same vibe, same just treatment. Oh my goodness, the lights just went off in this room. Hang on, it's like automatic. There we go. That's
It's like, Jim, you got to go home. Jim, you got to go home. Lights are off.
It's time to go. That's really funny. Anyway, I was about
Did Alan do that? Did he? Alan.
Alan's here somewhere, right? Oh gosh, yeah. So that's all. That was all important to me, and I could see it in two places now, which is awesome. But that's exactly the way I want to do it, and how I hope to be when I'm blessed with kids of my own.
Okay, so let's go to the school. You've done a great presentation with the kids. You've danced, which again, you go to the website, you'll see Jim's amazing ankle breaking dancing moves. It's amazing. But you've done the dance. You've done your talk. Kids are starting to go back to class. The bell's going to ring. Teachers are leaving. So one of the students walks up to you and says, "Can I talk to you?" And they have something they want to share. Has there been times, because that's kind of what I was hoping for today too, Jim, is to to strengthen that bridge between dad and students. And maybe there's a message that you'd love to share on behalf of these students back to dads on what these students are looking for, maybe some of the gaps that we might be completely unaware of.
Yeah, I love that. I think a lot of times what I'll get a student come up to me and they'll say, I really want to do this with my life, or I think my voice is here. And I've never told anyone this before. Like I get that a lot. They're like, you're the first person I've told this, because we end up having a connection where they feel comfortable to share that. And for me, I hope that dads and parents can create a space where their student feels welcome to share that thing with them. That's like the big thing I get. And I would say 80% of the time I hear a comment like that. Like I haven't told anyone I want to do this, or I have, and like it's not, no one cares or whatever it might be. But to create that environment in the house where your kid feels compelled to tell you exactly what they want to do with their life, if it's not the most popular decision, that's usually what it is. Like it's not the route that is being hoped for, whatever it might be on the student. And that's obviously it's very subjective, but I hear that one a lot. And obviously grateful that they feel like they can share that with me, but also hopeful that the situation, whatever's going on at their house, can change where they can share that with their parents and feel supported while they're doing so, which is the biggest part. So honestly, for dads, just listen and understand, and listen and try, like, get what they're saying, actively listen, let them explain it. I think by the time you have a student who's old enough to listen to me is when they form their voice. They know what they want. And that's the thing. If it's like a 5-year-old, yeah, you probably should give some more advice. But for your 16, 17-year-old, just listen to them, listen what they want to do, and provide them that avenue where they can share it with you without judgment and without without right away sharing advice. Just find out what they want, find out what they want to do. Because I think a lot of students are told like the path, like you're going to do this, you're going to do this next and this next. And they're not often asked what they want. And I know that, sometimes it could be like, I want $1 million, of course that's not going to happen. But if it's more specific and more concrete in something that's a goal of theirs, listen without judgment, and provide them that moment to share it. And then they won't feel like they have to. I mean, I still want them to share it with me, but I don't like hearing it's the first time that they've shared that with someone. Like I want that to be a thing that they're open to, and as dads across America can really find, I think can find a lot of value in providing that space. And again, like typically it's the stuff that they're not super comfortable. Like I had a student one time come out to me. They were like, I feel really inspired to do this. I'm like, that's awesome. Like, I wish you could tell more people that. I wish that could be something that's part of your story and in a present moment. So just small things like that, where having that element in the house is would be really important. I think that's something that could just happen by small things. Like, tell me about your day. Like how do you feel about that? Rather like the day was fine. Okay, sounds good. Let's eat. Like actually dive in and just listen to what they say and give them that moment to share what's on their heart. And I think that will really help a lot.
I love it. I love it. So the other part too, I think, is maybe just kind of like a status update on where kids are at right now. Maybe some of the more recent things that kids are struggling with or questioning. The one
Totally.
thing that's scary from our point of view here in Canada as we look towards the U.S. is just everything in the news and all of the horrific things that can potentially happen in a school setting. It's unnerving that students have to worry about just living at school rather than just studying. And there's this just climate, this cloud over students right now where it's way different than you and I when we were growing up. And the violence is higher, and social media is strong, and we're living in our phones, and we have instant connection. There's bullying. There's all kinds of stuff going on, right? But I think just the way things are today, it's amped up even more because you can't shut it off, and you're seeing people react in scary ways. So, from a student's point of view, what are they struggling with right now? What are the things that are really at top of mind for a student that are listening to your talks?
Totally. That's a great question. And I have, ever since I started speaking, I always ask whomever brought me in, the educator, the principal, whoever it might be, what do you see as your students' biggest problems that I can address? Like, just so I know, to make it a little more personal. And up until 2020, it was bullying, it was like vaping, stuff like that. That's like, okay, I get it. The last 15, 20 keynotes I've given have all been mental health. That's their biggest thing. And I mean, and without question, they're just like problems 1 through 5 are mental health. Like the bullying will follow, and that's for obvious reasons. And it stinks. I mean, I think our students really suffered the brunt of COVID. Whether or not they wanted to. I mean, that really put a number on them. And they're doing okay. I think they're coming back, and they're getting there, and they're bringing in people, and they're in person, all that kind of stuff. But that stuff reverberates. You think about like a sophomore in high school right now, like had to do a virtual graduation, had to start high school virtually. I mean, it's really tough stuff. I can't even imagine going through that. And I could tell you that we have leaders, and I've just did a couple conferences this summer with a lot of high school students, and we have leaders with big hearts and who have a lot to say, who have a voice, and that's wonderful. It's the anxiety, it's like the depression that really sets in. And I've now become a mental health speaker, which I never anticipated that being a thing. I never set on this road to do that, but it's needed, and I have to. It's my duty to do that. So when I find out from a teacher that mental health is the biggest thing, I'm going to turn up on that part of my talk. And so I really think for students, like having that ear to listen at home is really helpful, and to not be afraid to like say that stuff, to not be afraid to tell their dad that like they're struggling today, or they had a really tough night, or 2 days ago my anxiety was super high. And I just like, the more we share that, the more we're just like open right away, I think the more they realize, number one, they're not alone, and number two, it's okay to feel that way, and we're going to bounce back, but we do it together, and we do it as a community, not as individuals. And I've really found that to be a thing right now. I mean, without question, the biggest thing that they struggle from is mental health. And there is still going to be bullying, there's still going to be those things, but like that's the thing. And the tough part is it's not their fault. It's like that's what's going to happen when you have those unfortunate situations. So now I really try and dive into sharing my journey that will hopefully help them along with how they're feeling. They know that they can relate to me. They know that it's okay to go through these things, and here's how we can help each other out. But that's other than to your point, with obviously the tragedies that have happened, and we're really unfortunately starting to normalize some of these tragedies, which is just I mean, you hear it every week, and it's just brutal. But in terms of what we can control, I think right now, just from citizens, is the sense of giving each student the proper care, and also an ear to listen, and know that it's okay. What am I trying to say? Where you're at is where you're at, and where you're at is okay. And that's the story. So like it's like wild how often I hear that. It happens pretty much every time.
And then the one thing I remember even myself saying it to my kids when they were young is, I'm the dad, and you don't know what it was like when I was growing up. Especially when they're young, they're pretty sheltered. But now it's almost reversed back, where the students are saying back to the parents, yeah, but you don't know what it's like at my school. You don't know what it's like to have a phone with you everywhere you go, and you can have people taunting you every moment of the day, right? You could, when your day, anonymous. You could go home and hang up the phone and you're fine.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Now it's 24/7 every day. So, so it's almost like the way we used to talk to our kids is now the way the kids are talking to us.
It's true, isn't it? Tables have turned a little bit. Yeah. And I can't even begin to imagine the extent of what they had to go through with just isolation generally as like a 15-year-old. That would be brutal. That would be absolutely brutal. And I don't think I could handle it. I don't even know if I'm strong enough, or if I was at that age. I mean, that's just like what they've gone through and how strong they are now. Like, obviously they still need help, but they've gone through a lot. It's a tragedy to have that happen. I mean, it's it took away some family member. All those things are just like, they suck. Yeah. And so we need to be there for them. And the more we can motivate them and inspire them, and just give them some tangible tools to keep moving forward and be there as a dad, right, is really important.
Yeah, if you think about it, like in prison, if you do something wrong in prison, they put you in solitary confinement, because you're separating you from everyone, and that's punishment.
It's like the worst punishment. It really is like the worst.
And that's what we've been living through for these students,
And
right?
and the thing about that is like, to your analogy, they didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
It's like they did zero things to deserve this, and that's the part that really is difficult to comprehend. And nor I don't even think anyone will ever comprehend it, frankly. But it's just like we need to move forward and to let them know that we're here for them, and that's the big thing. And so that's why me being there and hopefully connecting with them and giving them a story is helpful for that. But knowing that like there are dads at home that are willing to be that that listener and give that ear and just offer support, and be there for the kid is really important too.
So, from your perspective, Jim, what are some of the mental health wins and focuses that we need to have as dads, in our families, as students, for our friends, whoever's listening to this? What are some of the things that we can work towards adding to our toolkit to give us better mental health?
Yeah, the first thing is gratitude. We need to have a lot more gratitude for I mean, each day, whether it's waking up on time, I small gratitude moments throughout the day, just realizing like how fortunate we are to be where we're at. I think that's big. And on the same topic, like if you do have struggles, I have anxiety, like those types of things, to celebrate small victories throughout. So if you like, let's say something's making you really anxious, if you got through that thing, that's a victory. Like pat yourself on the back, have a burger to celebrate, whatever you need to do. But and then setting the tone in your house with that is important, making that like a communal thing that you're all working towards, of adding in some gratitude, and really celebrating those small wins, like that. You can do that with your kid, like if maybe they had a tough day at school and they had tough practice, whatever it is, they go back the next day and they rock it. Like that's awesome. We should be celebrating that. And like as humans, to get through those things is critical, because not everyone is able to get through that. And it's really important to set the tone and like set the culture in your house to have it be that way. So if focusing on intentional gratitude, and then having an opportunity to celebrate small wins all the time is really important. And then that you'll see how the progression leads to big wins. But you can't skip, getting to step 20 is wonderful. You can't skip 1 through 19 because they're small. That's like you have to be able to celebrate that, and then realize like I did that happened. That's awesome. And I deserve kudos. I pat myself on the back, etc. It's a really important part of the whole process.
Hmm. I love it. I love it. So, what's your message to dads, Jim, from your side of the microphone, listening to these students? What can we apply to our life in our home? We're showing up for our kids. We're acknowledging the little wins, the wins, and all that in our lives. What's the next step?
Yeah, keep showing up. That's to keep being there. And I mean, I think a lot of students I talk to, like, I know I've mentioned some of the examples of sharing some things, but they're engaged leaders, and they're excited, they're ready. So you're doing something right. Just so keep going, and keep showing up, and keep being that role model, and the person who shares love and respect, all those things. And if anything, go deeper, but I think just generally, like to talk to your kid, like find out what they want and what they hope for, and rather than going through like the monotony of getting home and doing homework and then dinner and then to bed, all that stuff, like that's just rinse and repeat, and often that becomes just like another thing. And take advantage of those moments you have with them, like how are you, like do you want to watch something, like those things. I think when a student feels really cared about, not just by me but by their teachers, by their dads, all that kind of stuff, really good things can happen. And I think when they know that they have a voice and they can use it, and their folks show up for them, that leads to real action, and it leads to inspired people. And
Mm-hmm.
then from there, who knows what will happen. But I don't think there's anything, like nothing big, honestly. I really have so much respect for dads, and the deeper they can go, the
Yeah.
better. And knowing that your student has some thoughts, and you could be the person they share it with, on a daily basis. And that's a decision you can make, and just connect with them. And don't be like discouraged if they're like not feeling a connection. Sometimes your 16-year-old is not going to be like wanting to talk to dad all night, like let them have their moment,
Really?
and
Yeah.
then go
Yeah.
and be
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right? Big shocker.
Yeah.
But it's a good reminder, to make sure yeah, that's what I would say and what I would share. And just keep doing you, and doing you unapologetically, and you'll find good things will come from it.
What's exciting you, again, from your side of the mic, as you look out over these students? What excites you about the potential of our students and all of the struggles and all the things they've lived through? Where do you see them heading? What's exciting to you when you look out over that sea of faces?
Yeah, they're ready. they're ready to go to the next level. That's what I've really found. I think they're over the last 2 years, and they're just anxious to move on and what I found is it's kind of interesting. So you take someone and put them in isolation, and so the gratitude for community becomes a lot stronger. So when they got back together, I think they forgot about all the petty BS, if you will, and just got back together and were like, we're back, like we need to be back. And not to say that the bad problems don't exist, but I think that it was more the good things were amplified when people come back in the community and they're ready to embrace each other again. And so like, let's utilize this time to really bring them together and show how we can move forward as one, as a school. And I think they're very ready to do that. And the couple talks I've given this summer and now going into the fall semester, I'm focusing on that. Like we have an opportunity to make history. Let's move forward and become that class that actually makes an impact and a difference, coming from what we just came from. And they have an ability to make it happen. I think they're ready. I hope they're ready because I am. So let's hope that's the case.
It's amazing. You don't know who's sitting in those seats, right? Mm-hmm. You have no idea what the potential is and who that person might be. Mm-hmm. It's amazing just to know that you have a chance to speak into their lives and to give them a moment, and you don't know, the words that you're sharing can change the course of somebody's life, right?
Totally. No, it's important. Yeah, and it keep like, so everything you say matters. Your words matter, how you treat people matters. All that stuff is really, it matters. And that's and if you realize, if you approach each day with that, you're going to realize you're really intentional about what you say and how you make people feel.
Yeah, it's amazing. So tell me a little bit. Tell us, the listeners. I know because I've talked to you now third time now for the podcast. So I'm very familiar with your story and I love it. Share with our listeners more about what you do and maybe like how you even got started doing this.
Totally. Yeah. So I'm a keynote motivational speaker for all ages, but my bread and butter is high school and college students. And I speak about, my company's called Authentically You, and I speak about what it means to be an authentic servant leader, and sort of some of the life struggles I've had and how I've kind of come to overcome those. Talk about gratitude, self-love, personal brand. Controlling what you can control, all those things that come together to make an authentic leader. And I travel to schools, to conferences, to businesses to give this keynote, 45 minutes to an hour. I've done workshops, all sorts of stuff. And I got into it because I've been involved in leadership development since I was 16. I went through a leadership 3-day leadership seminar that was really intense, like a lot of emotional sort of like self-discovery type of thing. And I've returned to that. I'm 31 now. I've returned for the last 15 years and have really written down a ton of stuff and started to form these thoughts about what I had about leadership and what it means to me. And then got mentored by a gentleman who it does this internationally. And he mentored me for about 8 months. And we went through, I would do like recordings, I would send it back to him and he would challenge me to go deeper, all those things. And from there, started really forming this talk. And then I had to have a way to say it, right? I was like, I have a talk, I think it's good. And he fortunately double booked himself one time for something. And he was like, hey, I actually have a different speaker in mind. So it's amazing. A scheduling conflict, I think, is the reason why I'm here. But it worked out well. I got my first conference back in 2014 and haven't looked back. So it's been, and I really wrote this for like one thing and it ends up being for a lot of different folks. So it's worked out great. And now I try to spread this message wherever I go and just about this authenticity and really to connect with students and educators on an intimate level to make sure they know they have a resource and to try and inspire and relate to them, in a way that's going to bring them to the next level of leadership. That's always been my goal. And It's been fun so far.
And this is not your main gig, right?
Correct. Yes, I work at Manpower Group during the day. I'm a sales support manager, so I manage a team of about 6 or 7 people that support North America sales. So I do that during the day, and then my side hustle is speaking, and I do that at night, if you will. So it's been great. I write a little bit too, and a podcast host myself, as you know, you've been on it, and it's a great time, and keep myself busy through all those things.
So are you, Jim, hustling sideways?
That is correct. I'm absolutely hustling sideways. Wow. It's funny you should say that.
That name rings a bell for some reason.
I wonder why.
Hustling sideways. Yeah, I don't know. There's something there. I don't know. You should look into that. It would
be a great name. Yeah, I should check it out. I'll trademark it or something.
I think you should really look into that.
Yeah.
That's really I love it.
That's awesome.
Okay, Jim. So before we go, big message for dads. What do you want to end off with here? How do we close this off? Let's inspire some dads to build that connection. Come on.
Dads, don't hold back. Emote and show show vulnerability around your students. The more you do that, the more they connect with you and the more comfortable they are sharing who they are, and to continue doing you and doing you unapologetically. That's really where it comes about. Your kids will follow your lead. So when you're doing you, they're going to do them as well. And all of that leads to an authentic leader who's ready to make a difference in the world.
So be a real person.
Yes, exactly. Don't hold back, and don't mask, don't mask yourself from who you really are, and your kid will follow. I believe that your kid will follow right in your footsteps.
All right, Jim, define authentic.
Authentic is the best version of you that day, and so it's being a little bit better than the person you were yesterday, and a little bit better than that, and it's being true to yourself in that moment, and showing that to people. So it could evolve, it could change, but it's who you feel you are, and who that best version is on Tuesday, August, whatever day. I don't even know what day it is today. August 9th. I don't know, where the hell am I?
Where are we? What's going on?
There you go.
It's amazing. Okay, Jim, what's coming up? Like, do you have any events coming up? Anything like
that? Yeah. I'm doing actually. So this coming Friday, I don't know what day this is coming out, but this coming Friday, I have 2 keynotes in Illinois on the same day, kind of 2 different high schools. I'm excited to do that. And then the fall semester's coming, where I'll be back at it. I got a couple things booked, but I'm happy to continue doing more, and looking forward to just being in person in some organizations, some schools, some parishes, a few things on the radar that I'll be full force come late August into hopefully into November, and really kind of do it out. So if anybody's looking for a speaker, if you need someone to come in and motivate your students, your employees, your parish, whoever it is, you know where to find me. GoAuthenticU.com. And I actually just put up a new video like 2 days ago on the website. Yes. It's a more recent video. Alan actually filmed it in June. Alan's my podcast co-host.
We love Alan.
He came to a seminar. He's the best. And he came to a seminar I did in June, and now I have like a wild video of me going crazy. So I hope you enjoy it.
I love Alan, except when he shuts the light off during the podcast recording. Like Alan,
other than that, that's the only bad part. Yes, I have to probably wave again. I'm assuming it's been too long since I've waved. It's like angels in the outfield. You used to be Mel
Is this
Clark.
part of your health and wellness program at the office?
That's right. Yes. I do jumping jacks every now and then. Crunchies are next.
I love it. I love how it's already built into the light system. That's great.
That's right. You got to make it work.
Thank you so much for being on yet another podcast. Every time you come, you just bring so much great thoughts and great content that we can share with dads. I love it. It's really, really great having you here.
My pleasure.
And to end your day with us, thank you. I really appreciate that. And go home and rest your voice.
Will do. Keep on hustling. Am I right?
Keep on hustling. You heard it right here. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Dad Space today. Go check us out on all our social media, YouTube, all that great stuff. You can find us as Dad Space Podcast. Real simple. Dad Space Podcast, whether on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, even YouTube. Email us, dadspacepodcast@gmail.com. We're always looking for great guests to come on the podcast. If you have any feedback for us, let us know here at Dad Space. Looking forward to connecting with you on the next episode, right here of Dad Space. Follow us on your podcast app for more. Cheers. To you, Dad.